Hi everyone, I had a personal best last night on with Question Time. I was ever so proud of myself. I got 14 minutes into it before I wanted to throw my shoe at the screen and turned it over. Fortunately, before those 14 minutes were up, somebody spoke perfect sense, and it wasn't any of the politicians on there. It was that guy in the top right hand corner here, Nish Kumar, who is a comedian, apparently. Take a look at what he said.
Nish Kumar.
Of course it's not acceptable. I mean, what's happened is absolutely disgusting, and our attitude to Saudi Arabia has been absolutely baffling. I mean, I think history will judge us so poorly for the way that we responded to 9/11 in terms of the wide cultural demonisation of completely innocent Muslims and the way that the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq were executed, all the while the country where 15 of the attackers originally hailed from, we continue to deal with them as trading partners, and we continue to sell them weapons. I mean, I dread to think how history is going to judge the way that we behaved in the aftermath of 9/11.
And so what action do you think the government should take if, as seems likely, this is proven?
Well, I mean, I think that we need to get a handle on what arms we're selling them, first and foremost. I mean, we should have done that already. It shouldn't have taken this journalist being murdered to do that. The fact that the proxy war that's been conducted in Yemen should have been less than enough, and I cannot believe we've allowed the situation to escalate this far.
Okay, Michael Dobb.
Finally, somebody on Question Time actually talking sense for a minute and a half. He brings up a brilliant point. 15 of the 19 hijackers in 9/11 were Saudi Arabian. We didn't invade Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia weren't included in the axis of evil. Saudi Arabia is the largest. This is my opinion. It's my opinion. It's the worst sponsor of terrorism around the world. It's my opinion, I know, but I think that they are the worst perpetrators for sponsoring terrorism. You just look at when Tony Blair was Prime Minister in this country, there was an investigation into payoffs and briberies with Saudi arms sales. And they blatantly said that terrorism would increase in this country if that case wasn't dropped. And lo and behold, the case was dropped. What happened to we don't negotiate with terrorists? What happened to that? And then he brings up the next point, and this is a point that I've made several times with regards to this Khashoggi incident. It shouldn't have taken this journalist being butchered for us to evaluate our relationship with Saudi Arabia. This should have happened long ago, after 9/11. We didn't invade 9/11. We went and created devastation in Afghanistan and Iraq. We still are. And then there was Libya. We're just ticking off the countries that General Wesley Clark said all those years ago. And the last one on that list is obviously Iran, and that's coming. I just did a video about it. I've done several videos now on Yemen. It's a subject that really deserves far more exposure than it gets, especially in the media. They never get the clicks other videos do. They're always the lowest views of my videos on Yemen. But it shouldn't be that way. It should be number one news story, what we're doing in Yemen. At the risk of repeating myself and sounding like a broken record, I'm going to say it again. Over 1 million people contracted cholera in Yemen in 2017, and 60% of those were children. It is the largest humanitarian crisis in the world. Saudi Arabia are hitting funerals and weddings and fishing villages and markets, killing children and innocent people indiscriminately, We are refueling their planes. We are selling them the weapons to do this, rearming their planes and their tanks. That's what us and the United States are, picking out the targets for them while they are doing this, and then the plane circles round and hits the same target again an hour later in what's known as a double tap, which is a war crime, killing all the first responders who are going there to actually help the innocent people that we've just slaughtered. This is happening. 13 million people. I did a video about this last week. 13 million Yemenis are starving. They are thought to be starving to death by the end of the year, and we're nearly there. 13 million, that's half the country. And don't for a second, not for 1 second, think and let the media in this country think that that's just an unfortunate byproduct of a war that we've got to do this. Don't let the media think that. Let you think that. Don't let the media run with that narrative, because it's not true. It's not true. There were going to be 13 million people starving in Yemen intentionally. This is intentional. This is a war tactic of the Saudi Arabians. Remember, Mohammed bin Salman said, I did a video about this as well, he wants to hear Yemenis scream for generations at the mere mention of Saudi Arabia. It's a war of terror. It's a war of terror. We are complicit in terrorism. We are giving them the weapons, picking them the targets out, refueling their planes, and then turning a blind eye, and our media is, when the war crimes are being committed. And it's only when something really, egregious, and some children get bombed in a bus, like 40 kids, that it makes this, that's the number one story at the 6 o'clock news then, but it's gone very quickly. And the question is never asked, what about our arms sales to Saudi Arabia? Should we be doing this? And Nish Kumar is so correct. History is going to look on our nation and not in a good light in the future. They're going to look back on our government. Remember what the government is doing in yours and my name. They're going to look back and think, wow, we were complicit in that barbaric slaughter of innocent children and people in Yemen. And there's another thing that the media very rarely talk about. Remember, the Arab Spring came up in 2011, and their president, I think his name was Saleh. If I get these names wrong or the wrong way around, I apologise. Saleh was ousted, and an interim president came in, and he was meant to hold an election, and he had a mandate until 2015. That was his mandate. He held an election, but nobody ran against him. He was the only man there on the ticket. When that happens in Venezuela, it's a rigged election. They're totally different circumstances in Venezuela. It's not a rigged election, but when it happens in Venezuela, it's a rigged election. When it happens in Yemen, oh well, he's loved, and he was loved and adored, and the people wanted him, and no. Had an election, he was the only person who stood, outstayed his mandate past the 2015 deadline, and that's when they overthrew him in the capital. And he ran off with his tail between his legs to Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia started bombing. The media rarely explain this, or if they do, it's in paragraph 18, section C. It's not the headline. We are complicit in terrorism. And Nish Kumar, thank you. It shouldn't take a comedian to go on national television and say these things. It shouldn't. It shouldn't take a comedian to do this. Everybody should be screaming it, especially our journalists. Everybody should be asking these questions. Why are we arming and funding and supporting the most barbaric country that you can think of? Why? The country that is the leading sponsor of state terrorism in the world. In my opinion, they are, and in many others. Thanks, Nish Kumar. You actually, made me break my personal best. I've managed to get through 14 minutes. of Question Time last night. I hope now, don't get me wrong, we should be outraged about Khashoggi. We should be. But I hope now that more people are going to start jumping up and down and saying, no, this is wrong. If it took Khashoggi to do it, and what's happened to Khashoggi, then okay, fine. But it shouldn't have got this far. It shouldn't have even got past 2001. Let's face it. And future generations are going to look back at our governments and what we have done in our name, remember, over the last 2 decades, with absolute shame. If you like this video and you want to see more, please subscribe and click the bell below so you get a notification of when I drop further videos. Independent voices like mine, I'm sure you're aware by now, are being censored across all social media platforms, so please like and comment on the videos. That really does help the channel out, and share the videos wherever you can to grow the audience. If you can, please support me on Patreon. You can do it for as little as $1 a month. I cannot do this without your help. I rely on your donations. Thanks very much for your support. It really is appreciated. Until next time, peace and take care.